recordings. It took me 3 recordings to get this one video out. All I'm saying. Hey everybody, my name is Kame and welcome to another episode of the Sunflower Shamaness. And today we're going to talk about why it is so important for you to get real comfortable with yourself on this here spiritual journey. Couple of things. Yes, we are recording in my bedroom. Don't mind the noise because the windows is open, okay? Today is Sunday. I'm doing my cleaning. And I'm in my bedroom because this is where the best light is. And additionally, I am also holding my phone because I am waiting on my tripod. So, we made it anyway. We made it anyway. Now, in case you're wondering why it took me 3 takes, because this was supposed to come out on Saturday. I said that Saturday was going to be the official day that we are rolling out the content, okay? So next week, we will be talking about the lowest. Hit the like button, subscribe, notification bell. I'm getting better at that with each recording. The reason why it took me 3 takes was because I'm like going through the video and I'm doing the editing, and then I'm like, this is very basic information. Like, there's no substance. It adds very little value. And why am I doing that? Why am I doing that? To be entertaining, to go over and beyond? Like, why am I doing it? I had to sit down and had a conversation with myself, and I was willing to make this video, record 3 times in order to put authenticity into the content that I am creating and teaching and learning. I can't sit up here and say, and this is a moment. We're having a moment. We're having a moment where I took accountability and said, you know what? I have been dubbed. I've been dubbed this responsibility from the ancestors to teach. This is something I'm supposed to do. And if I am not adding value, if I'm going to be like superficial, and then what the fuck am I doing? And I didn't like that. So I was like, I'd rather record this 3 times and I have my lighting together, not have my tripod, any of the things, Lamborghinis. I've been cleaning today. Today's Sunday. Then to put out fucked up content. So let's get into why this spiritual journey is all about you. No matter what spiritual practice that you go down, it doesn't matter if you want to be eclectic, if you want to do hoodoo, which again, to me, hoodoo is like being an eclectic. If you want to initiate into any of the ATRs, whether you even want to be religious, okay? Your spiritual journey is about the whole person, mind, body, and spirit. Is going to require you to be authentically you, to know thyself inside and out. And I know you hear a lot of conversation about shadow work. With shadow work, for you who don't know, it is just bringing what's in the subconscious mind to the conscious mind. Now, there's different modalities and different ways that you can do that, okay? Because it's not always easy of taking what's in the subconscious mind and bringing it to the forefront, because a lot of time that fear part of our brain gets triggered and we stuff stuff back there and we forget that it's even back in our subconscious mind. For example, because I always like to lead by example, there was one time that I had to deal with the fact that I battle with depression and like a level of self-worth, right? And it took me back, doing shadow work took me back to a very specific moment when I was 8 and 9 years old, that something specific happened to me during that time with one of my parents that triggered that change within my brain, right? It's almost like your neural pathways are being redirected, or I don't want to say it's a chemical imbalance. I don't want to overspeak with that, but I can see more so of it being like a neural pathway, say from happiness to sadness, transitioning. And it took me to that moment. I would have never on my own thought about that was a defining moment, that point in time when I was 8 and 9 years old, that really just kind of rewired my brain to think a certain way, to where now as an adult, as a teenager, not knowing where that level of lack of self-worth and depression came from, right? Then there was another time I did shadow work, and this specific time was with plant medicine. Actually, it was both of these specific times were with plant medicine I was using. And it took me to epigenetics and explained to me, like, and also, hey, some of this isn't yours. You've actually inherited it. But when you're on your spiritual journey, it's very, very important for us to know these things about ourselves. It's not only knowing thyself is because you are an ancient being. It's like, no, you really need to know who you are as a person, because ultimately that is going to align you on the correct path of your life, so you're not meeting all these different paths of resistance, right? We always want to be on the path of least resistance. We want to align with our forever partners, forever intimate partners. We want to align with our soul tribe, right? Those are our friends. We want to connect with our ancestors. We want to practice certain things, whether it's spiritual or religious. And a lot of times when we don't know thyself, we can be confused or think we're confused and that we don't know what we want. We do know what we want. We just have to figure out who we are as a people. And a lot of times that's come with conditioning. I'm not going to say a lot of times, all the time, that comes with conditioning. There's some things that we break free of as we're growing and learning, ourselves. But for the most part, as soon as you come out the womb, you have your parents who were there before you, your great-grandparents, your grandparents, people that were there before you, telling you who you are, where you come from, what you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to believe in, and the lather. So it takes a lot of work to really get down to nitty-gritty of who you are, what genuinely makes you happy and smile from the inside, so we can start wearing those manifestations on the outside, right? They can physically appear and show up in our three-dimensional world. It's going to help you with your boundaries. It's going to help you with your spiritual practice, right? Because a lot of people, and I say a lot of people because I work with people one-on-one sometimes, is that they lack balance or think they don't have balance. But the thing is when you are aligned and you fully understand that this is a lifestyle, and this is the lifestyle that you want to lead, you figure out on the journey how to incorporate different things. And a lot of times too, because we all have different circumstances, it's going to require us to grow within our particular circumstance, right? Some of us have roommates, some of us live with family members. There's many times where I've had to go back and live with my family and I couldn't do so much as light a candle. Okay, the only thing I had was to camouflage. They knew that I wasn't with the shits, you know what I'm saying, religiously speaking, but I was never going to portray that, just to keep the peace, pick and choose in battles, right? I wasn't going to upset the balance, because I knew at that time I needed to stay there, and this was somebody else's home, so I had to camouflage, right? I had to learn how our ancestors do it and use bibliomancy, right? Bibliomancy is when you go to the Bible, you use the Bible for your answers. You ask a question. This is going to be more so for your yes or no answers. You ask a question. You set your intention. You open that line of communication and say, hey, I'm trying to contact y'all. I need a little help down here. And you start working within your current circumstances, okay? Regardless of what the situation may be. These things are important. Your spiritual journey is about you. Like, it's not a journey without you. So getting to know yourself, getting to be very comfortable with yourself is key, because you're going to have to figure out why you feel the way that you feel about certain things, why you're triggered about certain things, what makes you laugh. Why do you find it? And Cat Williams, not to even bring him up, but he made a valid point about toxic people. You can't keep feeding their toxicity. So if you're some type of person who likes to watch murder mysteries all the time, true crime all the time, you really need to get to the root of why you are attracted to something like that. If you are someone on the other end of that spectrum where you like to watch cartoons all the time, I love animation. I just love it in general. But I do acknowledge that sometimes I don't like dealing with reality. So I will watch cartoons. I will play video games. I will do something, read a book. I will do something that takes me away from that. But at least I know the roots to that issue is it something going on in reality that I don't want to deal with right now? That I am willing to say, I'd rather check out and watch cartoons. This is all getting to know, because our spiritual journey should be well. And the Queen Poe, if you don't follow her, you should follow her. She talks about hoodoo a lot, and I believe she's into Ifa. I'm not sure. I don't think she outright says it, but I know the signs. Like I know, I just, because I learn, I know. But she says this all the time. This journey is about wellness, and you have to be well. Mind, body, spirit. You really, really do. There is a very fine line between spirituality and like losing your damn mind. And you have to be well. You have to be well. You have to be well. I'm going to say it again. You have to be well. You are the battery. You are the key. You are the everything. The whole spiritual shink-the-dink journey doesn't go round unless you are centered, are balanced. You know thyself, right? Another reason why you need to get comfortable with yourself on your spiritual journey is because this is how people end up in spiritual psychosis. You cannot be so far to the right. Everything is balanced, right? We can look even at politics, and I'm going to briefly touch on that because I don't even do politics. The right side is the divine feminine. It's associated with creativity. The left side is logic. It is masculine. It is associated with things like science and logic again, mathematics, things of that nature, but you need to be balanced. You cannot be too far to the right and you cannot be too far to the left. With that being said, if you're too far into being spiritual and you're going to write everything that transpired in your life off as a spiritual occurrence, that's a problem. You need to be able to have better discernment to say, hey, there's this thing happened in the 3-dimensional right here, right now. And it's making me feel this type of way. And this is where my anxiety, my depression, my random, I've been going through so much and I feel so emotionally full. This is where those tears is from. It shouldn't be, because the ancestors, the deities, the Loa, the this or that is sending you all these kind of messages. No. You need to know thyself. And because I'm always transparent, I'm going to use myself as an example. I was very vocal on my TikTok last summer when I lost my dad, my favorite uncle, and my dog, our family dog, all at the same damn time, okay? And just like 7 months before that, I lost my grandmother who raised me after my mother passed away, baby. And then before that, my other favorite uncle had passed away, okay? So we're talking about I had lost 5 members of my immediate family. I looked up one moment, they were all gone and they were all a part of a reality that did not exist anymore. So when I started having issues with anxiety, depression, a little bit of PTSD, because those events were traumatic to me. For the first time in my life, I was able to see how people, when their loved one passed away, how they lose their mind. Because when I saw them close the casket on my grandmother, it's like I felt something literally click in my mind. I felt something change in my mind. And then when it got to the point where I started losing, my uncle, my dad, because my dad went before my uncle, but my dad got sick very briefly. We had a tumultuous relationship. I had to still show up for my dad. That took a lot of healing work for me and shadow work before I even got to that point to do that. When my uncle left, who was just at my dad's funeral and was trying to make me feel better and gave me a necklace and gave me a dress and everything like that, and he passed away 29 days after my dad did. And then when the dog passed away, and because I have mediumship abilities, the last thing I said to him was, I hope you're here when I come back home. He was gone. He was gone. Okay? When I was like, divinity, if you want me there with you, just say that. Just say that, because you're trying to take me out with the rest of them. When all of that, because again, that adrenaline keeps you going. When you are focused on the business aspect that comes with dealing with death here in the 3D. When you have to deal with all the family members, because of course everybody rear their ugly head when people start to die. Everybody get greedy. They want to take, make the situation worse. When I tell y'all I was going through it, that's going to be a story time for that ass one day, because I was going through it. But all of a sudden, I found myself faced with having to deal with this reality. And most of the time it happens when we're alone. After the dust is settled, everything is calmed down. And all of a sudden, you're by yourself. I had to come back home to Texas. I was by myself. It wasn't nothing but me and four walls. And when I say the levee broke, the brake broke. Okay? I couldn't take it no more. And then I had to find myself dealing with anxiety, depression, PTSD, right? In addition to that, I somehow decided that it was a great time to upgrade spiritually, and it was not by choice. Okay, my mediumship abilities got upgraded. Like, I was getting hit left and right. And when they say that divinity gives the battles to the strongest soldiers, baby, I want to know how I got on the list. Somebody tell me how I got on this fucking list. Because the brake was broken. I didn't get out of my bed for a month almost. I DoorDashed all my food. I had no reason to go outside. I cried. I laid down. I woke up. I used the bathroom. I ate some food. I laid back down. I went to go get me a cat because I was like, I can't do this by myself. Let me tell you something. Now, if I was completely checked out and too far to the right, I would have blamed all of this on all of these emotions that I was having on some kind of spiritual initiation and I'm being tested and all this other stuff. No, we cannot spiritually bypass the human experience. You have to deal with shit here in the 3D. I had to deal with that. You're going to have to deal with that. And with that being said, when it comes to discipline and having discipline on your journey, discipline is just not about how you get up and do something over and over again at the same time. That's really more so discipline, but more so ritual. Discipline is how you react. What's your behavior like when you are faced with that left side, that human aspect of yourself? Remember, you are the beast. We are the beast. We are animal. And the spiritual beings. We're spiritual beings having a very human, animalistic experience here. So you're going to be faced with that. And you need to be sound in your mind to know the difference. Where this is something spiritually going on. Or this is what's happening in my life today. And I need to deal with it today. That segues me to another point. When we find ourselves going through such upheavals in our life, when we're having tower moment after tower moment after tower moment after tower moment in our lives, let me be abundantly clear. And I'm saying this because I'm speaking from a place of experience, because a lot of times too, and you will realize this on your journey. And as a spiritualist, somebody who's been there, done that, and I'm talking about like other people who's been there, done that, they will agree to this. Because a lot of times we think because we're spiritualists that we can just do all the things and the stuff when we're having those tower moments after tower moments after tower moments. And let me tell you, the only thing that it is meant for you to do when your life is such an upheaval like that is to be still. Be still. It is the worst time especially when you are dealing with energies like grief, depression, and these are powerful energies. I want y'all to fully understand that the spiritual life is more real life than you think it is. Because when we think about grief, we think about energy. When you are dealing with energies like this, the best thing you can do is to be still. The worst time to do anything magically is when you are going through grief, sadness, heartache, pain, any of the variations. Because why? It's like alcohol. It opens you up, but it lowers your inhibitions. You are not at your heightened sense of awareness when you are going through this stuff. And that is a key element to inviting some gnarly shit into your life, is when you are doing the most, when the only thing that you are supposed to do is to be still. Now, if you feel like there's something spiritually going on, there's nothing wrong with going to like your reader. Don't go to a bunch of people and have everybody accessing your energy. Okay? We don't do that. Number one, spiritually, it's not hygienic. But also, that's how another reason why you can get some shit messed up in your life, by having too many people tapping into your energy. If you have your one reader that you go to, that's fine. Just to make sure that there is nothing spiritually that needs to be dealt with. But if you feel like you are on the flip side of that coin, if you feel like you're under a spiritual attack, it's not going to be a guess to it. You're going to know that you're under spiritual attack. That's okay. But all this other stuff, be still, baby. Be still. The only thing that you should do, keep taking your spiritual bath so you can cleanse your aura energetically. We should be doing this on a regular. This is why we should be doing this stuff on a regular basis anyway. So when things like that, these tower moments pop up in our life, we're not scrambling, right? You should be just cleansing your aura, making sure you cleanse your head. Cleanse your head, I mean like you're washing the scalp. Okay, so if you got on a bust down, you need to take your bust down off. Get to that scalp. If you got braids, that's okay, because you can still get to the scalp. But all is not washing your hair. That's going to clear up. Washing your head is how you're going to clear up any confusion in general. These are the bare minimum things that we should be doing on a regular basis anyway. Now, head washing 2 or 3 times a year at most, I say at the least 2 or 3 times a year, at the most once a month, to where you're taking certain elements, not just washing your hair. You're taking certain elements and you're cleansing your main spirit guide that's up here, okay? You shouldn't be doing any of the other things though. Process your grief, process whatever it is that you're going through. Deal with it before it deals with you. Don't be a repressed memory Emily, okay, and pushing it back into that subconscious mind because you don't want to deal with it. Why can't I talk right now? Specifically when you are dealing with death, because we feel like it's always sudden. Sometimes it is sudden, but we want all these answers. We want to know if they're okay, all these other things. You don't do anything with the body. You don't do anything with that spirit, with that energy, until the body has been laid to rest properly. That could be 7 days at minimum. Sometimes it's longer, given the situation. Okay. The spirit sometime may come to you during that time. I have mediumship abilities. Okay, I have mediumship abilities. So, like, when my uncle passed, he came to me. He came to me because it was, like, a whole drawn-out drama surrounding his death. And he was in that damn funeral home too long. And he came to tell me that. I could barely hear him. Because he was transitioning. Normally, they can't talk. When it's a new spirit, they can't talk. They usually cannot talk until after their year. They've transitioned. So I was like, huh? The whole dream, I'm like, what? What are you saying to me? What? Like, I literally couldn't hear him. So sometimes they will come to you, and that's okay. If it's something that they feel like is unfinished, something that they're trying to get for him, he was like, I'm ready. My body's been in this funeral home too long. Tell them they need to do what they need to do so I can go on about my business, because it tethers them here. So especially when you're dealing with death, like, do nothing. Do nothing. If you see symbols, if you see signs, if you see synchronicities while you're going through that whole process, get you a journal. This is why, another reason why journal is important. Write that stuff down. Because it may not be meant for you to process it right then and there. Again, let's touch something very particular that's going on during that time. But you'll be able to go back to it for a reference point when it's time for you to deal with that. Okay, so that was just another tidbit there. I always lead by example, because baby, when my dad, my uncle, and the dog and everybody passed away, I was doing the most spiritually. I was doing the most. I was getting into it with everybody. I was cussing everybody out. Some people needed to, because I was trying to fight. I had one arm. I had broke my wrist during that time too. I forgot about that. I broke my wrist during that time too. Okay, I was doing the most spiritually, and that was the least that I shouldn't have been doing it. I ended up spending an additional unnecessary $600 to a babalao. Unnecessarily spent money that I didn't need to. Having everybody buying all these spiritual supplies and stuff like that. Spiritual capitalism, buying all that stuff. I didn't need none of that shit. I needed to be still and go through what I was going through. Okay? So that's a lesson out there for somebody else, because I know it's hard. I know it's difficult. Especially when you were close to someone and they pass. It's very hard. Okay? So this is reasons why we need to know thyself and get comfortable with thyself. It's going to be a time where you only got you. Segue to another point. I know a lot of people want mentors. We think that we are ready to have mentors. And I can tell a lot of y'all aren't ready for mentors, because a lot of people that I've worked with, you don't even know what spiritual path you want to go down. Even if you start in a particular spiritual path, to say, for instance, you started out in E5, that doesn't mean that you're always going to be with E5. You only may be with E5 for 10 years, 5 years, however, whatever the duration may be. But that doesn't mean you lose all of your, if you have your hands in E5, whoever has your head, you don't lose all of that stuff. You still have that in your arsenal, right? To take with you when you're getting ready to move on to whatever else you're getting ready to move on to. But a lot of y'all want mentors and y'all don't know what path you want to go down. Even if it's eclectic, you don't even know that you're an eclectic. Okay, so start there, first of all, before we decide we want to get mentors. But when you have a mentor, you do have like this different relationship. This is a lifelong relationship that you have with someone. And I want you to know that mentors are also spiritual beings having very human experiences. And if your mentor is going through something, they could be sick, they could have death in their family, whatever the variation may be. That doesn't mean just because you're going through something that now your emergency is their emergency, unless it's a real emergency. But even then, that's not the best. And it depends on, it depends on where your mentor is at, right? They should probably have a mentor or some kind of elders that they can go to handle things for them. Yeah, it just depends. I don't even want to get off onto that, because it just depends, right? Some people are able to do things for you while they're going through certain hardships in their life as well, but that doesn't mean that they're supposed to. They also get to points in their life where they have to move within their current circumstances and understand what they're going through and their limitations. They're still, I'm going to say it again, they are still a spiritual being having a very human experience. So knowing thyself and getting comfortable with thyself, because sometimes you're going to want to go to them and they're not available and you have to rely on you. A lot of people who come to me who want to work with me, they lack confidence and they have a lot of fear. And this is another problem for your spiritual journey. This is a part of you being well. You have to be confident. You have to get over those humps of fear, because during this whole process, even if you have a mentor, you still have to practically apply the knowledge that's passing on to you. You still are going to have the courage and overcoming the fear and like having someone do something with you step by step by step, because logistics is a big thing nowadays. Nobody is really closer to anybody when it comes to the whole community aspect of the spiritual community. You're very fortunate if you so happen to live in the same community as your mentor. My mentor is in a whole different state. So I have to rely on myself. I have to know that during this process, I am going to make some mistakes. That mentor is supposed to be there, for me, if that mentor is able to be there for me, but I'm not going to be too big for my britches. And it's another thing that I always incorporate in my prayers to my ancestors, my spirit guides, and my protective spirits. Like, always keep me humble. Don't ever let me get too big for myself to where I'm thinking like I'm big, bad, and bold and I can't be touched in these spiritual streets. Because just like you can be touched in these physical streets, you can be touched in these spiritual streets. Always be humble. Because if you think you bad, trust me, there's an energy out there that's better. Especially in them spiritual streets. We are babies. We are babies. I don't care how old we think we are in adult years. They're older than us. I made this another video. Especially like the Loa and the archangels and all. They are older than us. They are so far removed from the human experience. It's crazy. So stay humble. But I have to rely on myself. I have to know, okay, I got X, Y, and Z going on. This is where you start genuinely and naturally learning about herbs, oils, powders, days of the week, the planets. How and when, how many days, trial by error. That's how we learn. You're going to have to heighten up that discernment, genuinely grow, because it's going to be a reflection in your spiritual workings as well, as long as just your spiritual journey in general. I don't want to make this video too long. And I probably did it anyway. Again, if you like the content here, you want to see more, please like the video. It helps my channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you know when new content is being posted. And that's pretty much all I had. Like, I just wanted to hit authentically on some key points of why this journey is about you, why it's so important for you to get to know thyself, why it's so important for you to get to healing. Because not only is it important for how you navigate in the everyday life here in the realm of the material, but it's also helpful to how you navigate in the spiritual world. It helps you to character build. Again, we're always character building when we're here. And also, it's going to help you grow in your spiritual workings, no matter what path you decide to go on. This is the foundation. This is the 4 wands. This is the foundation that we need to build, because we need ourselves. Yes, it's supposed to be community in the spiritual community, but a lot of times we are by ourselves doing things, and we have to be able to rely on ourselves and be confident in our workings and be confident in the intentions that we set and be exact, right? Know exactly what we are aiming for when we set our intentions, and being very specific, because the spirit is very, very, very funny that way. But I hope this was beneficial for you all, and that you learned something, and that I kind of gave you more of an in-depth example as to why this is about you, why you need to know thyself. But next video, we get into the nitty-gritty. We starting out with learning about the Loas, and I know y'all been waiting for that. So till next time, be well.